Awaken, chosen ones. Have you ever paused to wonder why your life has been marked by trials so unimaginable they feel almost surreal? Why it seems as though betrayal, humiliation, and unthinkable cruelty have followed you at every turn? What if the pain you've endured wasn't a random series of events, but rather a deliberate attempt to crush something extraordinary within you before it could fully take root? Here's the truth, and it's as unsettling as it is revealing. Your suffering wasn't just personal, it was calculated. Every tear, every moment of heartbreak, every attempt to break your spirit was part of a greater scheme meant to erase you before the world could witness your brilliance. History is full of proof that the brightest stars are forged in the deepest darkness. Think of Harriet Tubman, who was hunted like an animal, yet became a beacon of freedom. Consider Nikola Tesla, ridiculed and rejected, only to lay the groundwork for technologies that changed humanity forever. Or Van Gogh, whose genius went unnoticed in life, but whose name now echoes through the ages. Their journeys began with torment, rejection and pain. But those very struggles became the furnace that refined their greatness. Could it be the same for you? Could it be that your wounds are not your end, but the very birthplace of your story's unstoppable power? If this resonates with you, pause for a moment and comment 777 below to affirm your awakening. And to those who've supported this mission through super thanks, know that your generosity is deeply cherished. Your kindness allows these messages to reach and uplift countless others walking the same path. You are truly part of this movement of transformation. But here's where the story takes a turn. What was done to you wasn't poetic. It wasn't some noble rite of passage. It was vile, deliberate, and, to be brutally honest, a sickness beyond belief. They wanted to see you erased before you even discovered who you were meant to be. Yet, against all odds, here you stand. Bruised perhaps, but undefeated. Broken in places, yet with a strength that defies explanation. The irony. In their twisted efforts to destroy you, they unwittingly gave you the one thing they feared most. A story so powerful, it will make you unstoppable. So, let's dive deeper. Let's unravel the meaning behind this suffering, the purpose behind their attempts to extinguish your light, and the divine plan that has kept you standing. Because the truth is, chosen ones, what you've endured wasn't for nothing. It's time to understand why, and to claim the greatness they tried so desperately to bury. God's chosen ones, your story will make you famous. What was done to you is a sickness beyond belief. Being chosen is a paradox, a riddle that few can truly comprehend. On the outside, the idea of being chosen sounds like an invitation to a life of fame, fortune, and effortless glory. It seems like the fulfillment of a divine promise, a path paved with endless blessings. But in truth, it's far from that. The journey of the chosen is not adorned with ease, but with struggle, isolation, and pain that few ever understand. Those who look at you today and admire your strength, resilience, or success are blind to the shadowy paths that led you here. They don't know about the nights when you cried yourself to sleep, when the weight of betrayal made you question the sincerity of those around you, or when you doubted whether your worth was even real. What makes you chosen is not the moment you rise, but the journey that has broken and rebuilt you. It's about surviving when the world seems designed to crush you. It's not about being the strongest or most gifted. It's about withstanding the unimaginable and emerging from the wreckage, still standing, still holding on to hope. Do you ever wonder why you've had to endure so much? Why the trials you face feel so uniquely personal? Like the world is singling you out. Have you ever asked yourself if there is something greater than you at work in your life? Think of the story of Job in the Bible. Job was chosen not because he was perfect, but because he was willing to endure unimaginable suffering. In Job 1:21, after losing everything, Job says, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." His trials were not random. They were part of a greater plan. And though he was tested beyond measure, Job's faithfulness and endurance led him to a reward far beyond what he had lost. Could your story be following a similar pattern? The road you're on is lonely, yes, but it's also deeply purposeful. Even the ones who love you may not fully grasp the weight of your journey. They may not understand why things unfold the way they do. Some may even call you unlucky, cursed, or erratic, but you know better. You feel the hand of something bigger at work, pushing you through trials that others cannot imagine. Do you sense that the universe is preparing you for something more, something extraordinary? The path may be long, but the destination is greater than you can currently see. You are being shaped, refined, and strengthened for something monumental, if you can survive long enough to witness it. The most devastating battles are the ones fought in silence, where no one else can see the war raging within. What was done to you wasn't simply a series of cruel actions. It was a covert war waged against your mind, your spirit, and your very sense of self. There were no visible weapons, no marks or bruises to show the damage, but the wounds you carried were just as real, if not more painful, than any physical injury. This invisible warfare is the kind of pain that others cannot understand because they can't see it. They don't know how deep it cuts or how it lingers, silently reshaping every part of who you are. It was never about physical harm. The true aim was far more sinister. To break you in a way that left you alive but hollow. To leave you questioning your own worth day after day. Every harsh word, every manipulation, every betrayal wasn't a random act. They were calculated strikes designed to sow seeds of self-doubt. Do you ever wonder why you couldn't simply get over it, even when the world saw no reason to be upset? Have you found yourself blaming yourself for things you didn't cause, wondering why this invisible burden won't lift? It's a cruel kind of warfare because it doesn't show on the outside. You carried on with your day, smiling, pretending like everything was fine, while internally you fought a battle that no one could see. People may have even admired your strength, assuming you were fine because you didn't fall apart in front of them. But inside, it felt like you were slowly unraveling, piece by piece, your energy and confidence being drained away. This sickness, this invisible war, wasn't just meant to hurt you. Its true goal was far more insidious, to control you. It was about making you believe you were small, weak, powerless, and incapable of escaping. But here's the truth. They underestimated you. You were stronger than they realized. Despite the overwhelming pain and the whispers of doubt they planted in your mind, you are still here. And the fact that you survived, that you are still standing, proves that their attacks were never truly victorious. Think of the story of Joseph in the Bible. His brothers betrayed him, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery. In his darkest moments, he could have easily given up, letting the cruelty of his circumstances define him. But he didn't. He kept his faith, kept his strength, and ultimately he rose to power in Egypt, saving many lives. Joseph's story is a testimony to the strength that remains when everything around you is designed to break you. Could your struggles too be leading to a greater purpose, even if the battle has been fought in secret? You've endured a war that others can't see, but the fact that you've made it this far shows that you are more than they ever realized. Your story isn't over yet. In fact, it may be just beginning. Envy is a quiet, corrosive force, often hidden behind smiles, casual conversations, and even seemingly well-meaning concern, but underneath it festers, slowly eating away at the heart of those who harbor it. Much of what was done to you, the betrayals, the manipulations, the cruelty, was not random. It was driven by envy, a sickness that pushes people to destroy what they cannot possess or become. They saw something in you, something they lacked but yearned for. It could have been your strength, your light, or even the potential they sensed within you. Whatever it was, it made them feel small in comparison. Have you ever wondered why people who should support you instead sought to tear you down? Could envy be the real force behind their actions? Envy doesn't reveal itself directly. It wears many disguises: criticism, sabotage, or even the false cloak of help. They might have told you that you weren't good enough, that you'd never amount to anything, or that your dreams were unrealistic. But these words weren't rooted in truth. They were born from their inability to stand seeing you rise. Your success reminded them of their own shortcomings, their insecurities, and the dreams they never dared to pursue. How often have you faced this kind of subtle attack, when someone tells you that your dreams are too big or that you're aiming too high? These words aren't just words. They're a reflection of their inner turmoil, their need to pull you down so they can feel better about their own limitations. The most twisted part of this is how deeply personal it feels. Their actions weren't just aimed at your accomplishments. They were an attack on who you are at your core. They wanted to make you doubt yourself, to dim your light so that they could feel more comfortable in their own shadows. For a while, maybe it worked. Perhaps you started to question your worth, shrink yourself, or try to fit into a mold that didn't make others uncomfortable. You might have even felt guilty for standing out or for not meeting the expectations they set for you. But here's the painful irony. Envy destroys the person who carries it far more than it ever harms the one it targets. Do you ever wonder why they seem so empty, despite their efforts to tear you down? Could it be that the very envy they harbor is what is slowly consuming them? They were so focused on breaking you, they never realized the truth. You were never their competition. You were simply a living example of what's possible. Your success wasn't a threat to them. It was a reminder of what they never dared to believe for themselves. Think of Cain and Abel in the Bible, where Cain's envy toward his brother Abel led to his downfall. In Genesis 4:5-8, Cain became angry because God accepted Abel's offering, but not his own. His jealousy drove him to commit an unspeakable act. Envy poisoned his heart, and instead of transforming his own life, it led to destruction. As Genesis 4:6-7 says, "Then the Lord said to Cain, 'Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it.'" Cain's inability to overcome his jealousy led him to a tragic decision. This story serves as a stark reminder of how envy can spiral into ruin if not addressed. Additionally, consider the story of Saul and David. King Saul's envy of David's growing popularity eventually led to attempts on David's life. Despite David's innocence, Saul couldn't bear the thought of someone else rising to prominence. In 1 Samuel 18:8-9 we read, "Saul was very angry. This refrain galled him. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom?" And from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. Saul's envy blinded him to David's integrity and to God's plan. His obsession with David's success ultimately destroyed him. In the end, the very envy that tried to break you will be the thing that consumes them. They will never understand that you were never their rival. You were a testament to the heights they could have reached if they had only believed in themselves. The battle was never about you versus them. It was always about them facing their own fears and insecurities. And you were simply the proof that greatness is possible for anyone who dares to believe. As Proverbs 14:30 reminds us, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. The universe has a strange way of selecting its strongest warriors. Your trials, no matter how cruel or senseless they may seem, are not arbitrary. They are deliberate, carefully designed like a blacksmith's hammer striking steel, transforming it into something unbreakable. However, let's be clear, this is not some glorified notion of suffering or hardship. The process is raw, brutal, and often feels entirely unjust. The universe does not approach the task of testing your worthiness with kindness. It strips you down to your most vulnerable state, leaving only the pure essence of who you are. Have you ever wondered why life can feel so unfair at times? Why, despite your efforts, the challenges keep coming? These trials are not meant to punish you, but to prepare you. Greatness demands great strength, and that strength is not granted. It's forged in the furnace of adversity. The suffering you endure is like a fire, burning away the superficial layers of who you thought you were and forcing you to face the raw, unfiltered version of yourself. When everything you once relied on is stripped away, who are you? What do you stand for when there's nothing left to hold on to? These are the questions the universe is asking, pushing you to answer in the most challenging of ways. How do you respond when the world seems to be against you and all you have left is your faith? Think of the story of Moses in the Bible. Moses was called by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. But before he could take on this monumental role, he had to endure years of hardship. He fled from Egypt, lived in exile, and encountered countless challenges. But those years in the wilderness were not punishment, they were preparation. God used those years to refine Moses, to teach him to trust him fully, and to prepare him for the immense responsibility ahead. In Exodus 3:10-12, God says to Moses, "So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." Despite his initial doubts and fears, Moses stepped into his divine purpose, a purpose that would have been impossible had he not gone through the trials that shaped him. Could it be that your struggles are preparing you for something even greater than you can imagine? The truth is, you probably didn't volunteer for this journey. No one asks for hardship, especially not in ways that seem to break your spirit. But for reasons you may not fully understand yet, you were chosen. The universe saw something in you, an innate potential, a light within you, or an ability to rise above the chaos that would break most others. And the hardest truth is that not everyone survives these tests. Some get caught in the pain, unable to see past it, and they never make it through. But if you're still here, still standing, still fighting, then you're proving your worthiness, not to anyone else, but to yourself and to the universe that placed you on this path. As James 1:12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." When the time comes for you to step into your extraordinary role, you will understand why the fire was necessary. The very challenges that once seemed like an overwhelming weight will reveal themselves as the tools that forged your strength. The trials you endured weren't to break you, they were to shape you into someone capable of achieving the incredible things that lie ahead. Do you see the strength that has already been built within you, even in the midst of your struggles? Your resilience, your faith, and your perseverance are the evidence that you were never meant to fail. You were meant to rise. Gaslighting your greatness is one of the most insidious tactics the world uses to keep you small. It starts early, often from those you expect to support you, the ones closest to you, like family, friends, and even teachers. These people, the ones you trust, may tell you to stay humble or to be realistic. At first it seems like good advice, but what they're really doing is trying to keep you within the boundaries of what they can comprehend. Your potential, your dreams, even your mere presence unsettles them, so they convince you that it doesn't even exist. Have you ever felt like your dreams were too big for those around you to understand? Could it be that their discomfort stems from their inability to see what you're truly capable of? Society plays its part in this too. It rewards conformity and punishes those who dare to be different. The world doesn't appreciate those who refuse to fit into its narrow molds, those who challenge the status quo. When you begin to show signs of something more, whether through your talents, your ideas, or your unyielding resilience, the world moves quickly to label you as arrogant, difficult, or even delusional. It's not that you are wrong for believing in yourself, it's that your belief in your greatness disrupts the systems that prefer things to stay the same. Think of the story of David and Goliath. David, a young shepherd boy, was labeled by others as unworthy, unfit for battle, but he stepped forward anyway, armed only with his faith and his courage. In 1 Samuel 17:45, David says, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." His belief in his own potential, despite how others viewed him, led him to victory. Can you relate to that feeling of standing firm in your belief, even when the world seems determined to tell you otherwise? The most dangerous part of this gaslighting is how convincing it can be. Over time, you may start to internalize their doubts, their criticisms. You might find yourself questioning your abilities, shrinking your dreams, or staying silent when you should be speaking up. You might tell yourself you're just like everyone else, even when everything inside you is telling you that you're not. Do you ever have moments when you doubt yourself, when the noise of others clouds your inner truth? Those are the moments when the world tries to keep you small, to make you believe that you don't deserve more. But deep down, you know the truth. You feel it in the stillness, in the moments when everything quiets down and you are left alone with your thoughts. That spark of greatness, the one that others tried to bury, is still there. It hasn't gone away. It's just been overshadowed by the doubts they've imposed on you. Here's the reality. The world doesn't gaslight what isn't a threat. They wouldn't go to such lengths to make you question your potential if there wasn't something truly remarkable about you. If you weren't destined for something extraordinary, they wouldn't work so hard to make you doubt your worth. As Jesus said in Matthew 5:14-16, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. The world tries to dim your light, but the truth is, that light will never be extinguished. The sooner you accept this truth, the sooner you embrace the greatness that's within you, the sooner you will become unstoppable." And that is exactly what they fear. The moment you realize your true power, when nothing can hold you back. Because then, nothing in this world will ever stop you from becoming everything you were meant to be. What you endured wasn't just cruelty. It was a direct attack on the very essence of your humanity. It went beyond physical pain or emotional manipulation. The purpose behind it was far darker, to strip you of your dignity, to make you feel less than human, to disconnect you from your sense of self and your connection to the world around you. It wasn't enough for them to harm you. They wanted to hollow you out, to break you down so thoroughly that you would be left as nothing more than a shell of the person you once were. Have you ever wondered why the cruelty you faced felt so personal, so designed to leave a permanent mark on your soul? Could it be that their intent was not just to hurt you, but to erase you entirely? This is what makes their actions a sickness beyond belief. True cruelty doesn't stop at mere harm, it seeks to obliterate. They didn't just target your confidence or your happiness, they aimed at your very identity. They wanted you to forget who you were, to disconnect from your inherent worth, and to question whether you even deserved to exist. It shows in the way they dismissed your pain, treated you as if your voice didn't matter, as if your existence was of no consequence. This kind of treatment seeks to make you invisible, to reduce your being to something insignificant. Have you ever felt like the world ignored your pain, as if no one saw or cared about what you were going through? That's when dehumanization begins, when others attempt to convince you that you are nothing more than a shadow. Over time, this kind of dehumanization seeps into your mind. You start to see yourself the way they wanted you to, small, powerless, and unworthy. The internalized message of being insignificant becomes difficult to shake. But here's the truth they never understood. Dehumanization only works if you allow it. They underestimated the resilience of the human spirit, your spirit. Even though they may have stripped away comforts, love, and perhaps even hope for a while, they could never fully erase what makes you you. The essence of who you are, the light within you, could never be extinguished, no matter how much they tried to stamp it out. The story of Job in the Bible provides a powerful example of this. Job was stripped of everything, his health, his wealth, his family, but he never lost his faith in God. In Job 19:25-26 he declares, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God." Despite the immense suffering and dehumanization he faced, Job's spirit remained unbroken. Could it be that your own trials are shaping you into someone stronger than you ever realized? Rising from this kind of darkness isn't easy. It's not something that happens overnight. The road to reclaiming your humanity, to rediscovering your true self, is long and often filled with setbacks. But every step you take toward healing, toward embracing your worth and your voice, is an act of rebellion against the sickness that sought to break you. You are living proof that even the most malicious attempts to destroy someone can fail. They tried to erase you, to make you disappear, but you're still here. You're still standing. And that alone is more powerful than anything they could have imagined. Your survival is a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit. Your spirit, which can never truly be broken, as Romans 8:37 reminds us. No, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Your victory is already written in the strength you've shown by simply continuing to exist. There is something about your resilience that defies logic, something that baffles even those who tried their hardest to break you. They thought they had you cornered, shattered, or completely destroyed. They threw everything they could at you: manipulation, cruelty, isolation, believing that this would be the thing that finally made you crumble. And for a moment, maybe you did. Maybe you doubted yourself. Maybe you fell. Perhaps you even stayed down longer than you wanted to. But here's the thing. You did get back up, and that's exactly what terrifies them. It's not just that you survived, it's that you refused to stay broken. Have you ever wondered why they couldn't just let you be? Could it be that your resilience threatens everything they believe about themselves? They can't understand it because it's not a strength they have. People who try to destroy others do so from a place of fear and weakness. They project their own insecurities onto you, hoping that by breaking you, they can feel more powerful. But when you rise again, stronger, wiser, and more determined than before, it leaves them stunned. They can't comprehend how you can withstand what they thought would defeat you. They can't fathom how you can still stand tall after everything they've thrown at you. But this is exactly why they fail. Your resilience exposes something they desperately don't want to face: their own fragility. It forces them to confront the fact that deep down, they know they wouldn't survive the same trials you've endured. And that realization eats away at them. Have you ever wondered if their attempts to tear you down were really about them, not you? What if their hatred of your strength is simply a reflection of their own weaknesses? The more you thrive, the more baffled they become. They will hold on to their bitterness, telling themselves that it's unfair, that you were just lucky, or that you were favored. But deep down, they know the truth. They underestimated you. They thought they were in control of your fate, that they could dictate your ending. But all they did was set the stage for your greatest comeback. And nothing terrifies an abuser more than the proof that they never truly had power over you. Your story is not defined by their actions. It's defined by your ability to rise again and again in spite of everything they threw at you. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and cast aside. Yet, despite the cruelty he faced, he rose to power in Egypt, becoming second only to Pharaoh. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph says to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph's story is a powerful reminder that what others intend to destroy, God uses to shape something greater. Your story is the same. The more they tried to break you, the stronger you became. And that's something they could never understand. The Apostle Paul provides another example of resilience in the face of suffering. In 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 he writes, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." Paul's words capture the essence of true resilience, being pressed and persecuted but never defeated. No matter how many times you've been knocked down, you have the power to get back up because you are not crushed. The strength you carry within is a divine strength, just as Paul's was. Finally, think of the story of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Before his crucifixion, he prayed earnestly, knowing the suffering he would face. In Matthew 26:39, Jesus says, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Even Jesus, in his humanity, knew the weight of what he would endure, yet he rose to fulfill his purpose. He embraced his trials, knowing that they were part of his greater mission. Similarly, your trials have a purpose, a divine purpose, and you too have the strength to rise and fulfill your calling. Your resilience is proof that you are not defined by what others do to you, but by what you choose to do in response. You are the living evidence that even when life tries to crush you, you have the strength to stand up again and show the world your true power. And that, more than anything, terrifies those who thought they could control you. As Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Your strength is not your own. It is a divine strength that the world cannot break. Being chosen means that you don't merely exist in the world, you reflect it. You become a mirror for everyone around you, whether they realize it or not. Your presence alone can unsettle people because it forces them to confront truths about themselves that they would rather ignore. It's not something you do intentionally. It's simply who you are. But for many, that reflection can be more than they can bear. When people look at you, they don't just see you, they see what they are not. Your drive highlights their complacency. Your courage underscores their fear, and your resilience reminds them of the excuses they've made. Have you ever noticed how some people react strongly to your very presence, even though you've done nothing to provoke them? It's because your mere existence forces them to reckon with things they would rather keep hidden. This is why chosen ones often face hostility and criticism. It's not really about you, it's about what you represent. You embody everything they wish they could be, but don't have the courage to confront in themselves. Your very being challenges their comfort zones, making them feel exposed and vulnerable. When people are unwilling to face their own darkness, it's easier to project their insecurities, anger, and frustrations onto you than to face the uncomfortable truths within. Do you ever feel like you're being blamed for things that have nothing to do with you? Could it be that instead of truly seeing you, they are seeing a reflection of everything they are trying to avoid? Take the story of King Saul and David from the Bible. Saul, the king, was deeply troubled by David's growing favor and success. In 1 Samuel 18:8-9, Saul becomes enraged and begins to see David not as a person, but as a threat to his own sense of power. Saul was very angry. This refrain galled him. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? Saul's insecurities, jealousy, and fear caused him to project hostility onto David, not because David had wronged him, but because David's success mirrored his own shortcomings. David was simply being himself, yet Saul saw that as an affront to his own inadequacies. Could it be that, like Saul, some people in your life have treated you unfairly simply because your presence forces them to see their own weaknesses? Being a mirror is lonely. It's a role that isolates you, even though you may not have asked for it. The very thing that makes you special, the light you carry, also causes others to feel uncomfortable in your presence. People may misjudge you, resent you, or even hate you, not for anything you've done, but for the truths you reveal about them. It's a difficult position to be in, especially when the world tells you that you should hide your light rather than risk making others uncomfortable. But here's the hard truth. You were never meant to hide your light. In Matthew 5:14-16, Jesus tells us, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house." Your light isn't meant to be hidden because it makes others uncomfortable. The world needs mirrors, even if people are unwilling to look at their reflection. For every person who rejects what they see in you, there will be another who is inspired to face their own reflection and make the necessary changes to grow. This is the true power of being chosen. Your presence forces transformation. Whether or not others accept it, you are fulfilling a divine purpose by simply being yourself. You are a living testament to the power of self-awareness and change, and your light will shine through, even when it's difficult. As 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, "And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit." By reflecting the truth of who you are, you offer others the chance to be transformed as well. Even when they don't want to see it, your light is still doing its work. Seeing the truth is both a gift and a curse. The deeper your trials, the sharper your vision becomes. Through your pain, you've gained an unsettling clarity about the world, how people operate, the lies they tell to survive, and the systems built on corruption and control. This awareness doesn't come without a price. The more you see, the harder it becomes to relate to those who remain blind to it. Most people live in comfortable illusions, carefully curated to protect them from confronting the harsh realities of their lives. They don't want to see the truth about themselves, their relationships, or the world around them. But for you, once the truth is revealed, it cannot be unseen. The weight of this understanding often feels heavy. You notice the manipulations behind smiles, the fear disguised as authority, and the selfishness buried beneath so-called acts of selflessness. Have you ever felt like you were seeing a reality that others refuse to acknowledge? Can you feel the isolation that comes with knowing truths that others can't or won't accept? It's not that you want to see these things. They simply are there, glaringly obvious to someone who has lived through the hardest of trials. You've walked through darkness, and now that you've emerged, the light shines too brightly for you to ignore the shadows. This clarity, often isolates you. It's hard to explain to others what you've come to understand. When you try, they might dismiss you as cynical, paranoid, or even delusional. They don't want to see what you see because the truth is heavy. It forces them to confront things they aren't ready to face. In John 3:19-20, Jesus says, "This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." Just like this passage, many people avoid the truth because it exposes what they are trying to keep hidden. So, you walk alone, burdened by knowledge that separates you from the crowd. This loneliness, however, is also what sets you apart. By seeing through the lies, you've become a beacon, someone who can guide others out of the fog, even if they resist at first. You may not have asked for this role, but it's yours. In Matthew 5:14-16, Jesus tells us, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Your clarity makes you a lighthouse in the darkness. Though the world may not always appreciate your light, it is still necessary. Your understanding of the truth, as uncomfortable as it may be, is exactly what the world needs. Without it, the lies would continue unchecked, and the sickness of deception would spread further. The isolation you feel is a mark of your strength, not a weakness. It's a sign that you are capable of seeing beyond the surface, of holding on to the light even when the world around you prefers the shadows. Think of the story of the prophet Elijah in the Bible. Elijah lived during a time when Israel was deeply entrenched in idolatry and sin, and his message was one that no one wanted to hear. Yet, despite the rejection and hostility, Elijah remained steadfast in his calling. He saw the truth about Israel's spiritual condition, and his role was to expose that truth. In 1 Kings 19:10, Elijah says to God, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." Elijah's story is one of loneliness and isolation, but it is also a testimony to the power of holding on to the truth, even when it feels like you are standing alone. You may feel like you're walking a solitary path, but remember this: your clarity and ability to see through the lies are the very things that can transform others. As uncomfortable as the truth can be, it is a light in the darkness that the world desperately needs. Your resilience in carrying it is not just a burden. It is a gift that has the power to change lives. In the end, your loneliness is not a sign of weakness. It's a testament to the strength and truth you carry. What many fail to understand about you is that your strength is not a gift. It's a burden. People look at you and see someone who has it all together, someone who overcomes everything with ease. But the truth is, every ounce of that strength came at a price. You didn't ask for this path. You didn't choose to be the one who had to endure the pain, the struggles, and the constant challenges. This path chose you, and with it came scars that most people can't even fathom. Have you ever wondered why others don't see the toll it takes on you, only the strength that comes from it? Could it be that they only admire what they don't understand and never see the burden of what you've had to endure to survive? Strength is often romanticized. People admire it from a distance, envy it, and believe it comes easily to those who possess it. But what they don't realize is that true strength is built on the foundation of suffering. Each time you rose from the ashes, it was because you were burned. Every battle you fought left marks that can never fully heal. You carry them not as trophies of victory, but as painful reminders of the cost of your survival. The Apostle Paul, in 2 Corinthians 12:9, speaks of his own struggle. "But he said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Paul understood that true strength isn't about avoiding suffering, it's about embracing it and finding power in the midst of it. Does that resonate with you? Have you found strength in the broken places of your life, even when others couldn't see it? It's not easy to be strong when the world constantly expects it from you. There's this unspoken belief that people like you don't break, don't struggle, don't need help. But the truth is, your strength comes from having been broken and pieced together more times than you care to count. Every time you've been pushed to the edge, you've had to find a way to hold on. And even when you felt like giving up, something deep within you refused to quit. As Psalm 34:18 reminds us, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." It's in those moments of brokenness that your true strength is forged, not because you are immune to pain, but because you rise from it, time and time again. Your resilience is forged in pain, not privilege. You fight because you have no choice. Life doesn't give you the option to turn back or to sit still. It pushes you forward, whether you're ready or not. And with every victory, there's always another challenge ahead. People see the strength, but they don't see the burden behind it. They don't see the quiet exhaustion, the weight you carry, or the moments of doubt that you push through, because there's simply no other option. It can feel like you're expected to be unbreakable, but in reality, your strength is what has been created from your breaking. Your story isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about enduring them and emerging stronger each time. This journey wasn't chosen by you, it was thrust upon you. And while you carry it, you also understand that the strength you possess isn't just a reflection of your survival, it's a testament to the battles others never had to face. Your strength speaks to the resilience that many will never understand. It's not a gift given to you because you were special. It's something you've earned day by day through the fires of life. Just like Job in the Bible, whose trials were overwhelming but ultimately led to greater blessings, your strength is not just about surviving, but about transforming through your suffering. As Job 42:5 says, "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." The trials you faced have opened your eyes to a deeper understanding of your own strength, and that is something no one can ever take away from you. There's a power in forgiveness that most people will never fully understand. It's not about letting your abusers off the hook or pretending that what was done to you didn't matter. No, it's about reclaiming something they tried to steal from you, your peace. The real power of forgiveness lies in transcending the hurt, not for their sake, but for your own. It's a radical act, one that flips the script on everything they tried to make you feel. Have you ever wondered how your healing could be in your hands, not theirs? Forgiveness isn't about releasing them from their actions. It's about releasing yourself from the grip of their control. When you forgive, you're not excusing their actions, you're refusing to let them control you any longer. Every time you hold on to hatred or bitterness, you're giving them power over you. They continue to exist in your mind, shaping your thoughts and emotions, even long after the abuse has stopped. But when you choose forgiveness, not as a gift to them, but as an act of liberation for yourself, you break those chains. You release the hold they've had on your soul. Have you felt that weight, the heaviness of holding on to past pain? What if letting go of that burden could free you in ways you never imagined? Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means acknowledging the pain, confronting the damage, and then making the conscious decision to let go. It's the ultimate rejection of the power they thought they had over you. By forgiving, you take back control. You decide that the past will not dictate your future, that the wounds they inflicted will not define who you are. In Ephesians 4:31-32, we are urged, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." This act of forgiveness, rooted in grace, is about reclaiming the peace and power that was always yours. Have you ever thought about forgiveness in these terms, not as something you do for them, but as something you do for your own freedom? This is what makes forgiveness revolutionary. It's a declaration of your own strength. It says that you are bigger than the pain they caused you. You are not their victim. You are your own person, free to move forward. Think of the story of Joseph in the Bible. After being sold into slavery by his brothers, Joseph had the power to seek revenge, yet he chose to forgive them. In Genesis 50:19-21, he says, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then, don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." Joseph's forgiveness wasn't just for the sake of his brothers. It was an act of liberation for himself, freeing him from the chains of bitterness. His act of forgiveness changed the course of his family's future. It's the kind of power that terrifies those who tried to destroy you. Because the moment you forgive, you become unstoppable. The moment you choose to release the grip of bitterness and anger, you gain control over your own life. And that is the ultimate form of revenge, not in what you do to them, but in what you do for yourself. You become a force that cannot be controlled, a person who walks in freedom. As Jesus says in Matthew 6:14-15, "For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins." Forgiveness is not just about letting go of past hurts. It's about opening the door to the future you were always meant to have. Forgiveness doesn't just change the story of the past, it transforms your future. And that transformation is what makes you truly unstoppable. What was done to you wasn't an isolated incident. It's part of a much larger systemic pattern that has existed for generations. The sickness you endured isn't just personal, it's pervasive, woven into the very fabric of society. It's in the systems that silence voices, in the structures that oppress, and in the cultures that enable cruelty. This is not just about what happened to you, it's about what is happening to so many others. And while the weight of that truth can feel overwhelming, here's the powerful reality. Your story, raw and unfiltered, is not just yours. By sharing it, you become the voice of those who have suffered in silence, hidden behind their own pain, shame, and fear. Have you ever thought about how your experience could resonate with someone else's? Someone who thought they were alone in their struggles. The more you speak out, the more you awaken others to the reality of what they've experienced but never had the words for. Your pain becomes a mirror for their own struggles, and in that reflection they finally understand that they are not alone. You're giving them permission to acknowledge their own wounds, to confront the ways they've been silenced, and to rise above what was done to them. There's an undeniable power in telling your truth. It's not just about venting or seeking sympathy. It's about breaking the silence that has kept so many bound. In Revelation 12:11 it says, "They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death." Your testimony has the power to triumph over the darkness. It's through sharing your truth that the chains of silence are broken and the world starts to heal. By speaking your story, you not only reclaim your own narrative, but you also challenge the system that tried to keep it hidden. Your words become a catalyst for change, sparking a movement of healing, resilience, and collective uprising. The pain you carry may have been forced upon you, but how you use it will always be your choice. As Isaiah 61:3 promises, to provide for those who grieve, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Your pain doesn't have to remain a symbol of suffering. It can be transformed into something beautiful, something that helps others rise from the ashes of their own struggles. By sharing your story, you are turning your pain into a powerful force, one that not only heals you, but also ignites the flames of empowerment in others. That is where true change begins. You are leading a movement, not by seeking vengeance, but by transforming your suffering into strength and offering it to those who need it. In 2 Corinthians 1:4, it says, "Who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." Your story, once a source of deep hurt, can now become a wellspring of healing for others. And in that healing, true transformation takes place. Your voice matters, your story matters, and through it, the world can change. What was done to you wasn't random. It was part of a larger, darker system that sought to diminish your worth, silence your voice, and break your spirit. But despite it all, you're still here. Your story is the story of survival against overwhelming odds, of resilience in the face of unimaginable cruelty. It's the story of someone who has been tested, pushed to the brink, and still found a way to rise. The pain, the betrayal, the dehumanization, they were all meant to make you small, to make you forget your power. But in the process, you've discovered something no one could ever take from you: your strength. Your resilience is not a privilege, it's a weapon forged in fire, a force that terrifies those who tried to break you. They wanted to destroy you, to make you question your worth, to see you defeated. But you didn't crumble. Instead, you became stronger. You turned each blow into fuel for your fire, each wound into a lesson, each moment of doubt into unwavering conviction. Your resilience is the strength they never counted on, the strength that proves they could never defeat you. This strength is not just for you. It's a testament to what's possible when you refuse to be broken. It's a reminder to everyone who has faced injustice. You are more powerful than they ever imagined. Your forgiveness is not for them. It's your liberation, your ultimate act of defiance, a declaration that you will not be bound by their hatred or fear. Through your journey, you've learned that forgiveness is not about excusing their actions. It's about reclaiming your peace, your power, and your future. By forgiving, you break the chains that once held you captive, and you refuse to let their cruelty define your story. You've chosen freedom over bitterness, healing over hatred. This, in itself, is revolutionary. You've shown the world that nothing can control you, not their abuse, not their lies, not their fear. Through your journey, you've become more than just a survivor. You've become a catalyst for change. Your story, told in all its rawness and truth, is a beacon for others who have suffered in silence. By sharing it, you become their voice, their permission to heal, to rise, to take back what was stolen from them. You are giving others the courage to face their own battles, to find their own strength, and to reclaim their own power. In telling your truth, you are rewriting the narrative for countless others who felt voiceless and invisible. And in this, you realize that the very thing they tried to use to destroy you, the pain, the suffering, is what will ultimately set you free. This is the power of being chosen. You are the one who was strong enough to bear the weight, to carry the burden, to stand when everything around you crumbled. And now, as you stand, you light the way for others to do the same. You are no longer just enduring, you are leading. Your light illuminates the path for those who are still in the darkness, showing them that survival is only the beginning. That transformation, healing, and victory are possible. The world may have tried to break you, but in the end, It's your unbreakable spirit that will change everything. You are not just a survivor. You are a force, a movement, and the future itself. You are the change the world needs, the light that cannot be extinguished, and nothing, not even the darkest forces, can ever take that from you. As Romans 8:37 reminds us, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. You are more than a conqueror. You are a living testament to the power of resilience, forgiveness, and the strength of a spirit that cannot be broken. As we reflect on the incredible journey of God's chosen ones, let this be a reminder that what was meant to break you only served to make you stronger. Your story, though rooted in trials and unimaginable challenges, will inspire countless others. The darkness you endured will become the light that guides someone else. Remember, God doesn't waste pain. He uses it to create purpose. If this message touched your heart, please consider supporting this ministry through a super thanks donation. Your generosity helps us continue to share these uplifting messages, and we deeply appreciate each and every contribution. If you're unable to give, know that your presence and support mean the world to us. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with someone who needs it. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your testimony could be the encouragement someone else needs. May God bless you abundantly and cover you with His favor, whether you gave or simply watched and shared this time with us. You are deeply loved, and your best days are ahead. Stay strong and keep shining His light.